Now, as soon as you stop using anonymous and start authenticating your users, ASP.NET exposes a mechanism for you to find out information about who your user is. And the primary interfaces here is called iPrincipal. This is exposed from both your page's user property, and the exact same reference is also exposed from http://context.user. So you can get it pretty much anywhere in the pipeline, as long as that's after the authenticate request event. That's when this thing gets populated, but that's pretty early in the pipeline. Now, if you take a look at the shape of iPrincipal, there's two things here you'll see. You'll see an identity, and this is essentially the result of authentication, which is the first step. Then there's isEnroll, which has to do with authorization. We'll be talking more about roles later on, so I'm going to skip this for now. Let's focus on the identity. If you look at the identity interface, you'll see that the most important thing you can get is the user's name and whether or not they're authenticated. So the typical code that you'll write will look like this. You can query the user's identity, you can query the user's name, you can find out how they were authenticated, authentication type if you're interested. And if you're interested to know whether they're authenticated, you can check the isAuthenticated property. Now let me flip over to my demo that I showed you earlier where we were authenticating with a very simple page. Let me show you the code behind the page now. So here's the markup. I've got a couple of labels, one that shows the user's name and one that shows the authentication type. And behind this, if you take a look at the code, this is the shape of the code that you want to write generally when you're checking against a user's identity in ASP.NET. First, you want to check to see whether they're authenticated. If they are, you'll probably make some decisions based on that. If they're not, notice that I take some special action here. Once I know that the user's authenticated, I make the panel visible that shows the authentication type, and I show the authentication type and the user's name.